Hey everyone, I want to talk a little bit about the idea of a reset style sheet. So when I'm doing these videos, I'm sure you've heard me say a lot of times, oh, I don't like how the browser added this here, or the browser does this by default, or the browser adds some kind of styling. I don't like when it does that, and so there's a way to get rid of it. So I have this example up here in Dablet where I have a header that has a background color and two paragraphs. So you see all these spaces, all this space in between here and above. This is added by the browser by default, and it's added in a different way on every browser. So somebody came up with this idea of a reset style sheet where you can include a set of CSS and it kind of takes out this default browser stuff. So I do this a little bit on my own in these examples. I'll do something like, I'm sure you've seen me do that, and see now it took out all that white space. So it just kind of like reset those margins and paddings. So I'll put it back in. Reset those margins and paddings back so that I can edit them on my own. So I have a little example up here, a little newspaper article, the Man on the Moon one from the Globe and the Mail in 1969. So it's just some basic headings, some text, a photo here, and all these styles that you can see are applied this way from the browser. So if I want to get rid of these and reset it back to what I want, I've basically two really popular options. One guy named Eric Meyer made this reset CSS. This is probably one of the most popular ones that you can get, but it's open source. You can just copy and paste it, and you can see right here he says that the goal of a reset style sheet is to reduce browser inconsistencies and things like default line heights, margins, font size, all that stuff. So if you include one of these in your projects, it kind of takes out all those browser defaults. One of the downsides is that you have to do this manually by yourself then, which can be kind of annoying. So how to get this? You can just copy it like I did, or you can download the file. I'll jump over to my project here, and then I already did this, but you can make a new file. Here, I'll just show you. Okay. In your editor, just make a new file, reset.css, paste it in there. Okay, so you can see a lot of what it's doing is just resetting some of these values. Go back to my index, and then you have to include it. So you want to include it before you include any other styles, because you want to apply your personal styles on top of it. So if you remember in CSS, the styles cascade. So if I had another one here, these styles would apply after the reset. If you do the reset after your styles, it'll reset stuff that you've already set. Alright, so I'm going to save this, and when I go back to my document, I'll refresh and you'll be able to tell the difference immediately. There. So you can no longer tell what's a heading, what's a paragraph, everything kind of looks the same. Took out all the paddings, all the margins. So it can be a pain because you have to manually put all these back in now, but it took out all of those margins all around. So CSS reset is the first one that you could do. There's another one that's gaining a lot of popularity called Normalize, and it's an alternative to a reset, and it doesn't, like it says, it doesn't reset everything, it just makes it a little more consistent with modern standards. So you can do this one, or you can click download, copy it, and then if I come over here into my project, I can make a file called Normalize, paste it in there, and then I have to include it. So I'll switch my Normalize out, or my reset out for a Normalize. So now if I go back to my document and reset, you can still see that a lot of these are still headings. They still look like paragraphs here, but you don't have all those added margins and paddings around there. So that's a good way to get rid of a lot of that really old stuff that the browser does that a lot of times we don't want anymore. And then after this, I can add in the styles that I have written for this project. So I included the style sheet that I have written there. And then I'm going to refresh. And now it's the start of a newspaper article. If you have any questions on that, let me know. It could come in handy, or you could not use it at all. It's personal preference.